I thought this week we might talk a little bit about balance, the work, study, practice, life, teaching balance, because it can be a lot to balance your practice and your study schedule along with everything else in your life. So I thought we might talk a little bit about some of the challenges and strategies and maybe some of the successes you've had in balancing all of these aspects, during teacher training and once you're moving out into the world to teach. In my own life, I've struggled, I'll say a little bit, with the work-life balance for just a little while, about 25 years. I still really have trouble with establishing boundaries around my work. And in some ways, that's due to the fact that this is my full-time job. So I'm not juggling different workloads. I haven't had to establish firm boundaries. And I'm not in a caring role for children or for my parents. So I've had a lot more freedom to work when I want to, which for me has meant that I'm sort of low-key always working, which isn't really a great plan for the long term. So over the years, I have found some strategies that have worked for me, like blocking out my time for answering emails, creating templates to answer things like frequently asked questions, to provide links that I'm always providing, and attending to business admin tasks on a very regular basis. So they never pile up, they never get out of control. So those are some of the strategies that I've created to keep my work kind of under control. But I'll say that it's taken me a long time to get over the sense that all emails and inquiries are urgent. So I'm not answering an email at 10 p.m. because someone's got a question. And that's taken me a lot of practice. And it's also taken me some practice to let sort of trickier questions or conflicts marinate a bit while I give myself some time to consider more deeply rather than just reacting constantly to things coming in my inbox. As far as creating a teaching schedule goes, I guess the strategy that I worked with when I started my teaching practice was the say yes to everything strategy, which in the positive gave me a really great start at teaching in a really wide variety of spaces to a variety of students. I got heaps of practice right out of the starting gate. But on the negative, it did definitely lead to burnout on a few occasions. So you might prefer to use the strategy of starting the way you want to carry on. So beginning your teaching practice the way you see it working best for you and for your lifestyle in the long term. So that might mean being more selective about what classes you take on, starting maybe more conservatively. Maybe you'll be starting with 1 or 2 classes to find your feet, to see what works for you in terms of time and location and style of class and variety of students. So those are some things I wanted to talk about today. I also got some messages that people wanted to talk about boundaries, and that's a big subject. To develop a practice of having like honest boundaries, to be able to say no is a practice for a lot of us. And to be able to say no without telling those little white lies is important to me anyway. So it's kind of following our philosophy of satya, truthfulness, how to be truthful when you want to say no, how to set boundaries or decline with kindness, but firmly, because sometimes people don't take no for an answer. And too often in the past, I've just kind of gone along, even though I know it doesn't work for me or the direction's wrong for me. And I've set aside my own needs for someone else's wishes. And for me, I don't want to do that anymore. But I'm not good at it. And I haven't had a lot of practice in saying no. So it's very much a work in progress. And because I'm already a little bit socially clumsy, I found for myself I needed some strategies for this practice, or I get flustered, or I get overwhelmed, or I just think, oh, the easiest thing to do is just say yes, because this no practice is too hard. So I've had some strategies that I'm kind of working with, and when pressed, I might still rely on a little white lie, but I am trying. And one thing I've noticed that while I've been practicing this, the folks I'm practicing with, they seem to be picking up on the strategies I've been playing with and using them themselves. And I find that really interesting. So some of these might work for you, some might not. And you might have some strategies to share, and I'd love to hear them. For me, I've made myself a couple categories of no to address different scenarios and like different intensity levels of no. So I imagine these happening in a few different scenarios. So someone's asking you to take on a new class. A student is asking you to put a new class on your schedule, or they're asking to book a private session. And even for social stuff, you know, dinner parties, brunches, get-togethers, work functions, social functions, an offer of a new role. So the first category of no is I would, but. So the I would, but category is like, that sounds like a great opportunity, but I'm not the right person for that role. Or like, I would love to, but my timing for that doesn't work this week. So the I would, but category, sort of a gentle, like, I really appreciate it, love being invited, but I'm not going to be coming. The second category is sorry, but, and I have to use sorry because I'm Canadian and it's the law. So sorry, that doesn't work for me this week, or sorry, that doesn't fit with my workload right now or my business right now. Sorry, I don't have space for that right now, but perhaps we can check back in a few months' time. Or just, I can't fit that into my schedule at the moment. Sorry, you know. Category 3, this is advanced. Just no, but thanks for asking me. Or I'm going to have to decline, but I appreciate the offer, right? Just, I can't fit that into my schedule. So just no. Now, with a lot of these, all 3 categories, folks might ask follow-up questions. Sometimes it's hard for people to take a no. Sometimes people haven't heard no before. So here's where your truthfulness kind of gets tested. You still want to be honest, but you know, you want to say no. So one trick to remember is that you don't owe anyone an explanation. Like if someone asks you why you're saying no, you can ask them why they're asking why. Like you don't actually have to provide an explanation for why you're declining. But if you have to, so say someone asks you, oh, can you take on this Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. class for us through the winter? And you answer, no, sorry, that doesn't fit with my schedule right now. What if they come back to you and say, do you have another class on at that time? And you don't, like, you don't have anything on your schedule, but it's winter and it's dark and cold and you don't want to do it, right? So you can truthfully answer, no, I have a personal engagement at that time. And so what if it's a book by the fireplace? That's no one else's business. So, you know, finding ways to continue to be truthful and honor your practice of truthfulness while dealing with maybe those follow-up questions of why you're declining. And it's useful to maybe mentally rehearse those if you're like me and you're not so great with those on-the-spot moments, so that you're kind of ready to deal with those issues. Anyway, I put a lot out there now on work-life balance, the art of saying no. Now I'd love to hear from you. What are your questions and your insights and your experiences or strategies for balancing a busy life of work and teaching and study and practice? And how do you establish boundaries or even just rhythms in your yoga life? So over to you all.